Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, the podcast about music, news, and interviews. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here today with Jackson from Silly Goose. Thanks so much for hanging with us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do in the band, Silly Goose, how many geese there are, and
the gaggle.
And what's the gaggle up to these days?
My name's Jackson. I'm the vocalist of Silly Goose. There are four of us. There's four members, and we started probably about 4 years ago. Me and our drummer Alan. Him and I have known each other longer than that, though. We were in another band before, but we've been under the name Silly Goose for like 4 or 5 years now, and I do a lot of screaming and rapping and jumping off of things.
Which is, I mean, my first question as a child of the 90s who grew up in like the nu metal scene and like the times when everybody's wearing the Jenko jeans and thinking that, you know, Limp Bizkit is the coolest band around. And I was very against it at the time and have significantly come around on it. How does one start a nu metal band at any point in time? Like, what is like the driving thought to be like, this is it, this is what we're doing?
Well, so when I was a kid, I actually started off as like playing drums in like different band camps and stuff in school. And I played drums in like a few different bands in high school, although I wasn't ever that good. I always kind of wanted to like do vocals or be like a front man. I just like didn't think I could. Now I think I'm really good at it, but it took me a while to get there. I always knew I wanted to do music. I started off on the drums, and I kind of just like discovered Limp Bizkit as a kid, and Korn and like other nu metal bands. And so I always knew like I kind of wanted to do that genre. I've always liked heavy music, and that's kind of how it started out. Like I just wanted to kind of start doing the music that like I listened to as a kid and that like made me happy. And and then I started like rapping with it, and that's how it began.
I think I find it super interesting because there has been like a very strong resurgence for the genre and like kind of just everything that happened in the 90s and being like there at the time when everybody was so down on this genre and everybody's like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever heard. And now we're like, wait, it was so good. And like everything about it like had just this sincere vibe and like just like what you put into it is like just what I don't know. It's like you shouldn't be doing this, and yet it works so well, and everybody's like having a good time, and maybe that's why everybody hated it. And I'm like, dude, This is the most punk rock thing you can do is make nu metal music, because everyone's gonna be like, you're not this, you're not that, and it's like, dude, the kids are having a good time, everybody's jumping up and down, it's all like emotion and feeling that you get from all other genres. But everybody's like going to talk shit. And it's like, wow, we're really like on the outside doing something that everybody loves.
For sure. Yeah. We definitely have our fair share of haters in the comments and stuff. So, but I kind of like it used to bother me at first. But I kind of find it funny now when people like will like say mean stuff on the internet. And every once in a while, there'll be like a comment that's like really like spot on, and they like like really thought about it, and it'll still get me. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, or even more than that, I kind of like it now, because I feel like bands that have like a lot of people who don't like them, or like obviously I want more people to like us than not like us, but I feel like bands that have haters and stuff, or that are polarizing, are kind of like doing something right.
Yes.
And that's kind of our whole thing, is like we're just here to have a good time, like make music that makes us happy, like, and just have a good time and have a party at every single show. And I feel like to the people who like really know us, like that's the energy we give off on stage, and that's we're always we just try and spread positivity and as much chaos as possible. So yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like having your ethos of your band just literally being chaos and positivity is all we need in the alt scene, honestly, at this point. And I think too, with your new EP that you just put out, Bad Behavior, you kind of have a big culmination of this, especially during a time where I definitely feel that new metal is in this, again, weird space that it has always been in, where you have a lot of fans, but it's very still frowned upon. So how did this kind of come to fruition with this EP?
For sure. So I feel like to like touch on that a little bit. I feel like the new metal genre definitely is coming back. I feel like people say it's coming back more than it is, though. I want it to come back more. But like us and a lot of other bands, like a lot of other new metal bands, are still playing like 300 cap rooms and 500 cap rooms. And like I want to see it like really come back and like really be big, which is kind of like what I'm trying to do with this band. But I forgot the second half of your question.
Oh no, just how did that? No, you're good. Just how it all kind of was encompassing when developing your new EP, Bad Behavior.
For sure, yeah. So I don't know. It kind of just goes back to like we just are always like making the music that makes us happy, whether it's relevant or not. So Bad Behavior, like I don't know. I think a lot of the songs on there, I think there's a lot of growth on this EP as opposed to our previous music, both in like recording quality and in like I take a lot of pride in my lyricism as to like when we first started out, like the songs that we made in high school and stuff. I was just like I didn't know what I was doing. I feel like so like songs like Everything's Over Now, the lyrics are a bit more serious, and then songs like Bad Behavior, it shows like we're here to have a good time, but it's also like I'm telling a story of what like everything that happens in that song is kind of like is everything is true other than like burning the house down. And then like Tsunami is kind of like the whole song is about underwater or like a tsunami coming. And it's a silly theme, but like it's the same theme throughout the song. So yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of like growth in my lyrics and us as musicians, and I kind of hope that shows. I feel like it does show in the new music.
Do you feel like I feel like there's a very big scene for heavy music now too. And I also feel like there's a big scene for like not taking yourself so seriously in music. Like it feels like music is definitely going this route of like, you know, we've had a lot of self-serious artists and a lot of bands that are like, we're rock stars and we're taking it this. And like, I feel like there is a sense around a lot of artists that are not taking themselves so seriously, but are also doing heavy music and not taking themselves so seriously.
For sure.
Like I know you have a song that features Carson Pace from Callous Cowboys, who I feel is a band that like they don't take themselves seriously, even though they are like insanely talented musicians. It's like you have this talent and yet you are like doing it. You're doing this with it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's like do you feel like maybe more so than like genre, do you feel like there's a sense that music is moving towards a place where people shouldn't take themselves so seriously and have fun and have this party with their art and their music?
I mean, well, and that's a good question. I feel like every genre and every band is different. Like it works better for some genres than it does others. And also the Callous Cowboys, yes, they are very fucking talented. But and Carson's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But I think I mean the name of our band is Silly Goose, so we're obviously not taking ourselves too seriously. Like we're just trying to have fun at the end of the day, and we are serious about it in that like it's all I think about ever, and I'm trying to like make it my career and make it the thing I do with my life. We're serious about it in that sense, but like we try not to have like an ego or like there's no like we're better than you type of vibes. It's just we get on stage, we want to have fun, and we want everyone in the room around us to have fun, and that's kind of the vibe that we're trying to put out. And I think that's a good vibe for other artists in the heavy world to do as well.
I think that's really good. Like, especially concerning about how there's been so much more conversation recently about having community spaces and building within the alt scene, especially. So you being able to just go out there and want to curate that more sincerely is probably going to have a larger shift within this kind of like mess that we have been in the last few years.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, I remember like, you know, growing up in bands and like trying to book shows and trying to like play with other artists that are either like touring bands coming through town or bands that like are in the local scene. There's always like this sense of competition and like every band's trying to make it and there's a very small pie and you're trying to like break out in a very noisy scene. And I'm like, I wish, you know, this is like 10, 12, 14, 15 years ago. And I'm like, dude, everybody now just seems like they want to go and like have fun with people in the scene and like go and play shows and have a good time and watch other bands because they like the bands that they're able to play with. And I'm like, we were just such dicks to each other. And like, it's not community building. It's not space building. It's like, yeah, we're like the most talented. We play the coolest notes or we're hitting more drums than anybody else. And it's like, dude, this is why like no one made it because we don't have community around us.
For sure. Yeah. And I think the Atlanta community where we're from is definitely like an interesting community to like start in as a local band. Because in my experience personally, and there's plenty of Atlanta bands that like we love that are in the scene and that we support. But it was kind of like everybody hated my band because it was nu metal.
Sure.
And it's like we're not playing like super complicated music. It was kind of like everyone hated my band and like hated me for some reason.
Oh no.
Until we started having some sort of like success, even like small success. Like we're still on the very bottom and I'm aware of that. But then like we had some sort of success and then all these people are like trying to be my friend in the local scene and it's very weird. But yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And there's definitely, I mean, there's still a sense of competition. Like, I feel like, it's only natural. Like I want my band to be like the biggest and the best band ever. But as anyone else does, but like, yeah, there's also a lot of like really cool artists, both like in the Atlanta scene and that we've met through touring that are like awesome. And like, they just deserve the best.
See, it's like that sense of like, I want the best for everybody, not just myself. But I'm also like, as soon as Wes Borland starts calling, you know, everybody else in the scene is going to be like, hey, so you're working with Wes? Like, what? How's Wes? Is Wes a cool guy? And you'll be like, all right, guys, I see it. I see what you're doing. I got that Wes Borland shout out. And all of a sudden, everybody's at my door wanting to work with Silly Goose. Also, I can't get over the name. I would be saying that name all the time. Like,
oh, you're good.
Being like, yeah, we're in Silly Goose.
That's why we picked it because people don't forget it. It's like whether you think it's like stupid or cool or anything in between, like people don't forget it, and that's why we picked it.
I always just think in my mind about like that little goose that has a knife in its beak and it's always running everywhere, but it would just be for you guys on like a shirt.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's like,
sorry, I had to think about what, like, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's literally just like
Untitled Goose Game is where it's from.
Yeah.
There's a game called Untitled Goose Game, and you play as a goose, and you just destroy a town, and you like fuck with people's days, and he just like runs around with like a knife to like do things, or like traps people in a garage or something like that. So it
for sure.
I mean, like. We usually are not like, oh man, how'd you get your band name and all that? And I'm not asking like that, but I am saying like that guy on TikTok who's like good band name, bad band name. I'm like, Silly Goose is in the good band name column. Like it's absolutely a good name. Like
Thanks.
It's perfect. Like for like exactly the genre you do. If I heard Silly Goose, I go, yeah, this tracks. This makes sense.
Thanks. Yeah, people either love it or they hate it. But I'm glad you love it.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. I think going back to the Atlanta scene, in your most recent music video too, you just like kind of rented out your public transit train system or bus system, the MARTA.
Yeah, no, we actually didn't rent it out. We just did the shoot there, and we were like, before we filmed it, we thought that like, oh, I'm definitely gonna go to jail
Yeah.
today. And I tend to get myself in these situations where I like, and I do it to myself, but I'll get like the whole day of that video, I was having like anxiety, like the first half of the day, like, oh my God, like this isn't gonna go well. I'm gonna go to jail. And like it kind of, and I'm sure we'll get to this, but like playing in the street and stuff, like I do that same thing to myself with like bigger shows. And then somehow I always just like, it always just works out. And like I haven't gone to jail yet. But yeah, it's kind of like riding that line. But yeah, the music video shoot in Atlanta, we just told everyone to show up at the MARTA station. We did not have permission from MARTA. We just did it.
It's, I think that like in the world of TikTok, it's just kind of how it has to be. Like you have to just show up and do it and hope for the best. And I do think that people are generally like, no, we had this band just show up and start playing, and they brought a bunch of people out, and it was really cool. And like the people who work there are going to be like, this is fine. Don't make a deal out of it. Hopefully, I guess. But I could imagine like, I'm like, I never thought about it from the planning phase where you're like sitting at home, like, yeah, okay, we're going to show up there. We do not have permission. We have not asked anybody. We were like loading the gear in the car, and you're like, this might be the last time. Like, let's load this gear because I'm going to jail.
Like I already told my parents like I'm back up over here.
But
like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just imagine like just those conversations and just that anxiety that you're having, like going to the place to do it. Like anxiety I'd never have going to like a studio space being like, okay, we rented it out. We're shooting the video here. It's like, well, we're allowed to be here. You're like, we are not allowed.
We saved money on location costs, though. We did. It was free.
And at the end of the day, your label's got to be happy that they're like, damn, we didn't have to pay all this money to rent out an entire.
For sure.
You're like, yo, take that money, put it in a bail fund. We may need it.
For sure.
It's gonna be that one. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's going to be the one time you actually get like really comfortable doing this. And then you're going to be like, oh man, I am going to jail this time now, actually, because you got too confident.
For sure. Yeah. And there's different levels of it, I guess. Like playing inside of the moving train with no permission, I would say is an all-time high of anxiety. But also like playing in the street and stuff and just showing up like unannounced outside of like shows that are letting out or something. Cause we've done like probably hundreds of those by now. And like, that I'm kind of used to, that like, I know how it goes. The cops will show up and like talk to us and then like, they'll kick us out and then like nothing ever happens. But whenever we think of like new ideas or something that we haven't done before, that's usually like, kind of illegal, that's when I'll get anxious about it.
Sure.
What are like your top 3 places that you have thought about that you're like, this could actually do us in?
Yeah, so the train was probably one of them. Most notably, I don't know if I have a top 3, but most notably, I really wanted to do a show inside like the US Post Office, because the doors are always unlocked and there's no one in there at night, and there's like power, the doors are unlocked and it's unsupervised. So I wanted to like do that out after like a festival or something and like a nearby post office and like get everyone to go there. But then our lawyer like told us we could not do that because it was federal property.
Yeah.
And under like no circumstances could we do that. So that's probably like that's one of the only ideas I've thought of where like it got shut down by like everyone and I couldn't convince anyone. But usually I find a way to convince everybody.
I just think the workaround here is finding and helping a campaign to get a USPS head person elected who really likes new metal.
Yeah.
And then that's the way in.
For sure.
We found the Postmaster General, who is part of the New Metal Nation, and they have said that we are allowed to play inside the front door of a post office.
For sure.
Like me and what's the name of the horseback riders who like ride it, because that would also be a good band name if I could think of what
the jockeys.
No, the guys who ride the horses and delivered mail back in the day in the Old West.
Oh, I know your
Name is slipping my mind right now.
Postmaster or mail carrier?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was like a certain name.
It was
I
like
can't
the
think of
Pony
it, but-
Express. I literally
Pony Express.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I literally teach about that in class. I was like, no, I know what this is. I
It's
should
the
know
Pony
this.
Express. We're bringing back the Pony Express and new metal to ride the new metal to everybody. I don't know. Pony Express would be a good band name though.
Yeah, that would kind of go hard.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. That would be kind of cool.
That's actually going to be your new side project too. So that's where you're actually just going to show up at some of these places that like, all right, this is it. We are the Pony Express.
Yeah. We have this problem. We keep coming up with ideas on the podcast and then we don't like, I can't do anything about that. So it's like, here's an idea for you or any listener. Pony Express, new band name.
If I take the idea, or if someone takes the idea, then they have a moral obligation, or I have a moral obligation to credit you guys. I will know that it's
write our
y'all.
name under it somewhere.
Yeah, we're not asking for financial compensation, just the clout that came from the
I'm
idea.
just glad that it happened, you know? We
For sure.
We had an interview with this band and The Forecast, and they have an album called In the Shadow of Two Gunmen, and they were talking about how the singer is like really good at making margaritas. And I referred to it as, in the shadow of two margaritas. And I'm like, that's great. That's a great way to reference like how drunk you are. Like, dude, I'm in the shadow of two margaritas right now. And he's like,
That's
fuck,
funny.
we're going to make that into a t-shirt. I'm like, just give me a t-shirt. As long as you make it, give me one. That's all I ask for.
Give me a t-shirt and one of these legendary margaritas, because now I have to know.
Give me one margarita and a t-shirt, and it's all done.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna ask our 6 questions we ask everybody. Some of this will be a little bit of repetition too, about like the EP and stuff. Feel free to repeat yourself because this is the stuff that's gonna go up for promo and all that. So it'll be edited.
Cool.
It'll be edited nicely in the final version, basically.
Sweet.
But our first question is: what is the most emo song you are listening to right now?
Oh man. I don't know. So I can give you an answer, but I feel like it's going to be really basic, because I'm judging by the name of like your podcast or your group. Like, I think you guys know a lot more emo music than I do.
The thing is, it's all encompassing. So like everybody's answered Chapel Roan recently, but also like when we do an emo night, there's a lot of new metal. People ask for new metal all the time.
When I think of emo, I think of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel you guys know more about this than I do, but I think of like Pierce the Veil as like my go-to.
That's like the general, because it's more like popular in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people out there who will emo copy past you until you die. But we are not them.
Well, I mean, I'd say like, I mean, I love Pierce the Veil, so like anything by them. I don't know if you're saying, like, when you say emo, do you mean like what the genre is stereotypically, or do you mean just like anything that's like sad?
Anything that makes you like sad, upset.
Anything that feels
question your
emo to
life.
you. If you're like, damn, I'm in my feels right now, I'm throwing on whatever this is. Behind Blue Eyes, Limp Bizkit.
Oh man. I don't think this would be like, or this definitely would not be in the emo genre. But under that criteria, I'd say Just Breathe by Pearl Jam is like one of the saddest songs ever. So maybe that one.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of very 90s, like,
I don't think that was the best answer, but
again,
that's what I've got.
we have like edited so many of these clips down. I'm like, it's just going to be another Chapel Roan clip. And like everybody says Chapel Roan right now. So
Yeah, and if anything, people are going to come in our comments and be really upset like they have been that people are picking Chapel Roan. I'm like, I don't know. You can get pretty sad if you listen to some of those songs in a certain order.
I tend to find out about people like after like a year after they're like super famous. I know who she is. I don't know. I couldn't tell you one song though, which is bad though, because I know the whole world knows it.
yeah,
I just like live in my bubble of like new metal and rock and like the music I listen to. But I should educate myself on like what's relevant. but yeah.
It is insanely popular among like 30-year-old hardcore dudes. Like for some reason, her music has like gone to everybody across the board. Everybody likes it.
We interviewed Anne Berlin and Hawthorne Heights, and they both were like, "It is Chapel Roan season."
Yeah, everybody likes Chapel Roan, so it's worth it. It probably will speak to you because of your interest in only rock music and new metal and like all the stuff that you're listening to now. It'll be like, oh, this pop shit. It's like, damn, wait, hold on, it's really good.
Cool. Yeah, I like pop music too, so I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, here's our next question. What was the inspiration behind your EP, Bad Behavior?
The inspiration behind our EP, Bad Behavior, is kind of just like goes back to the ethos of like who we are. Of we're just trying to have fun and break the rules a little bit, but in a way where that's not morally wrong. We're just trying to like go out and spread chaos and good vibes and have a good time. And I feel like that is kind of like all encompassed by this EP.
Like when you go and write, like when you write lyrics and when you write the music, like, are you thinking like, okay, I just want to write like party songs? Are you thinking like, I want to write a banger? I want to write like how are you writing lyrics and all that to put to that?
A little bit of all those. There's songs like that in like some unreleased music too, where it's like, okay, like we want a banger for this one, or like this is a party song. But then there's also songs like and on the EP, like the closing track, Everything Is Over Now, like that's a bit of a more like serious song that touches on like bigger topic. And then like also some of our unreleased music, there's some more serious songs on there, so like that, and then to just having a good time and like everything in between. I don't want there to be like a topic that we can't like conquer. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. This is going to be about your local scene in Atlanta. How is the local scene in the city where you're from?
The local scene, when we first started, was cool. Not the best. But I feel like as of right now, the local scene in Atlanta is like stronger than it's ever been. And I feel like there's a whole new scene. It's not the kids I like grew up playing with in high school. There's like a whole new scene, both of like kids who are younger than us, like who are next up, and then also like us and our friends in like there's this band called Actus Reus, and there's this band called Frigga 5. We're like good friends with like both those bands. So short answer, the scene is good.
Are there any like you just named a couple bands? Are there any like venues that like you want to shout out that you play at, like that you came up playing at, or?
Yeah, I mean the Masquerade is like our big venue in Atlanta. So like we grew up playing there, and then last year or earlier this year we sold out like hell, which was a big deal for us. That's like a 650 cap room, and that was like a big deal. Honestly, yeah, the Masquerade is that's kind of where like we play there now, and then when I was a kid, that was like it was a big deal to play there. So that's my answer.
I mean, that is a really cool venue because I've seen some Shaky Knees after shows there.
Yeah, I
sure,
haven't been,
yeah.
but I'd love to. Do you think the scene is very like? Because I mean, we know you and we know Callous Dowboys and some other bands from there, but do you think it's more of like a heavy scene city? Do you think there's more like Chicago? We have a lot of pop punk bands, and so it's like it's a pop punk city. Fall Out Boy and all that, but like how would you describe like the genre of Atlanta?
For sure, yeah. I think Atlanta is known as like a rap city, and I know there's a ton of rappers and stuff. Like, yeah, I think it's known for there being a lot of rap and a lot of rappers. I personally don't know anything about that, which is kind of funny because I rap in our music,
Right.
but I'm not very like connected in that scene of Atlanta. But from my experience and like what I experience, there's a lot of there's a lot of new metal bands, like new metal, but not necessarily new metal.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heavy bands in Atlanta that are newer that like draw really well, and like people show up for them. And the Callous Cowboys being one of them, and then like our friends in Actus Reis. So I feel like people show out for heavy bands in Atlanta.
Hell yeah.
Well, all right. Why was Tsunami chosen as a single?
Tsunami was chosen as a single because it is one of the best songs on the EP. And of course, I'm going to say, and I really do believe like every song on this EP I love. But Tsunami just fucking slams, dude. It is my favorite song that we have ever written. I personally think it is our best song, and I think Bad Behavior is like right behind that. And maybe I'm not supposed to pick favorites because I'm the artist, but yeah, dude, Tsunami's good. Tsunami goes hard.
I like this explanation because this is this is exactly how, if I ask this to like my friends, I'd be like, why do you like this song? I'd be like, this fucks. I'm like, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
You know what? That's just straightforward and to the point, and it's just real.
Yeah. And I think to expand on that a little bit, I think my lyrics in Tsunami are just like, I try and make people laugh with my lyrics. And if I can make myself laugh, that's you kind of usually like my what I try and go off of. But there's definitely some ridiculous crazy lyrics in Tsunami. So that makes me like it too. But yeah, that, and it just goes hard, and yeah, I like that song.
I think it's very fair to pick favorites, especially if you're like, I got to play this song every time we play a show. It's my favorite. We're playing it.
For sure.
All right. What type of collab would you like to do, and with whom? So this could be anything.
That's a good question. Two artists come to mind right away. Probably like Dead Poet Society. They're a band that like we're a big fan of, and that we're friends with now, and they brought us out on tour and everything. That was a really great time, and I think Jack, the singer of that band, is one of the most talented singers like of this generation. I really believe that. And for me, like my strong suit is rapping and screaming, and I sing sometimes. So like he's fucking amazing, dude. His voice is so good. And they're not like a metal band per se. Like they're like a bit calmer. It's hard to explain because the music itself is heavy and it's in like low tunings, but then he has this really pretty like high voice and he'll sing on top of it, and it's just like awesome.
Yeah.
So him like being on a song would be awesome, and then he could sing like some crazy like high notes that I could never do, and that would be awesome. The other artist that comes to mind would probably be Joey Valence and Bray, because like we get compared to Limp Bizkit a lot, and they get compared to like Beastie Boys all the time.
Yeah.
And I just love their music, and they seem like cool dudes. We've met them before, and they're really nice. So yeah, I think it would be cool on the next project to do like a just like hip hop song, like no rock, no metal, or maybe, but I kind of want to do a hip hop song and then have them on it. That would be sick.
I'm surprised that in that you didn't say the Wes Borland production credit, you know, have Wes Borland do something in the studio.
That would be cool. I mean, that would be awesome. Like I still haven't met Limp Bizkit yet, and that would be like, I'm waiting for that day. But, we've got like Ian Binion, our guitar player. He's amazing. He fucking shreds. So like, not that we would totally work with Wes or somebody in that vein, but like I was trying to think of like kind of like two artists that like we don't, or that are like a bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to work with him too.
That's just me being like, if I ever had a chance to sit down with like an artist that like inspired me, I'd be like, yeah, I don't care what we make. I just want to be in the room with you and just like,
oh, for sure,
steal the secrets and like watch you work and then talk to you about stuff and then go, yeah, whatever song or whatever. Cool. But like just getting your knowledge from the meeting.
Yeah. It's like a dream of mine to like meet them and hang out with them. Although I people say don't meet your heroes. but I feel like they'd be cool. So I hope so.
Everything I've heard says that Wes Borland is a really nice dude, loves music, and just like wants to hang and chat and play guitar and be a dude,
For
you know?
sure.
And I'm like, in the end, like if you make a name for yourself and you're popular and you're famous, like, wouldn't that be all you want to do? It's just like, yeah, I just want to talk about music and like play
Right.
music. Like, why would I be a dick?
For sure. Yeah. And I that's from what I've heard too. That's exactly how they are. I haven't heard anything negative, but yeah, that would be cool.
All right, then our last question. Can you tell us about some of your upcoming tour dates?
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, I think we'll already be on tour with Unity Texas. We're opening for them. And we're also playing alongside this band called Mugshot and Soulkeeper. So it's the four of us. It's a full U.S. tour. We're hitting almost every city. There's a few dates like we're not hitting like Seattle or like the Northwest area. And then there's some dates missing in the Midwest. But other than that, we're hitting just about everywhere in the United States. I'm a big fan of Unity, so I'm really excited for that. Um, and then we've also got our own headline run in early January. We're bringing out a band called Jigsaw Youth, and we're big fans of them. It's these three girls from New York, and they fucking rip, and it's awesome. So yeah, our tour with Unity, our headline tour with Jigsaw Youth, and then Louder Than Life and Aftershock we will be at.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hell yeah. Damn. Really
Yeah,
getting
I'm super excited for all that.
I really need that Unity Texas package though to roll through Chicago.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to
Yeah.
make sure that's one of those Midwest dates.
Well, we will be playing Chicago with Jigsaw Youth. That's one of the shows on our headline
Hell
our
yeah.
headline run. So definitely come out to that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be there. Sweet. Where can people find Silly Goose on the internet? Where can they find out more information about the tour, buy tickets, buy merch, buy records, buy a van or something? I don't know.
So yeah, you can go to our website is sillygooserapprock.com. And that's got all our tour dates and it's got our merch on there. So that's the best way to support us is to go to our website, sillygooserapprock.com, and buy merch from there. Or you can also get dates or tickets to the tour dates. And then as far as keeping up with what we're doing, the best place to follow us is on Instagram. We are Silly Goose ATL on Instagram. That's where we do like most of our posting and stuff. And turn post notifications on. But we're also on TikTok and Facebook, and it's all the same username, Silly Goose ATL. And yeah, Silly Goose ATL and sillygooserapprock.com. That's where you can find us.
Hell yeah.
Very awesome.
Well, make sure if you're listening to this, that you're listening to Silly Goose. You're checking out the tour when it rolls through your neighborhood, no matter what version of the tour it's on.
You will be acting like a silly goose in the pit.
Okay. She's
right.
transitioning. But until then, thank you so much for being on. This is fucking awesome. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you in Chicago
in the new year.
Not at a BP that we didn't know was happening.
Yes.
So in a venue in Chicago, we'll be very excited for that.
For sure. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Yeah, thank you for taking the time. And to anyone listening, go listen to the new EP, Bad Behavior.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys.